The 2024-25 NHL season has been filled with parity, but for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're making a statement. Toronto has had some slow starts in the past, typically residing around 500 this time of year and looking rather underwhelming. However, this season, they're off to an unexpected but still very impressive start with a record of 21-12-2. So what's different this time? Is it their revamped defensive unit, the changes made to goaltending, or maybe it's the head coaching change, or just this team finally understanding the expectations that they need to live up to? Whatever way you look at it, the Leafs are looking like a legitimate playoff contender this year. So today, let's break down the Toronto Maple Leafs, their hot start to the hockey season, and whether or not this team has enough this year to finally break through and make a strong playoff run. The Toronto Maple Leafs have looked great to start the year. Their record is nearly at the top of their division, and they're just overall playing with more effort and synergy. This new system has been incredible for the team, and more importantly for their core 4-star players. Now before we get into this and just the overall topic of this video, about 90% of the people watching have not subscribed to the channel yet. We are almost at the end of the year, and I have a sub goal of 20,000 that I would love to reach. So if you guys want to continue supporting me and the content that I'm putting out for you guys, go ahead and hit that like button now and subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's talk about the stars for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto's offense has been efficient to start the year. Players are stepping up into their roles, and overall the strategic approach this year seems to be tapping into their true potential. So let's start with the biggest part of this Toronto team, the core 4. Now, Austonmatthews becoming the team's captain in the offseason hasn't been as flashy as last year, but that's mainly because of the injuries he's been dealing with, causing him to go in and out of the team's lineup. While he might not score 70 goals this year, he still looked really good while he is on the ice, maintaining a point-per-game pace with around 11 goals on the year, still having an impact whenever he can. Next, Mitch Marner having an underrated season, while in the midst of a contract year has really just stepped up overall, despite a lot of the criticism that he received during last year's playoffs and in the offseason. Marner has 45 points in 34 games played at the time of this recording, and whenever Matthews was held out of the lineup, he seemingly took over and helped the team overcome a ton of adversity. William Nylander has quietly been a goal-scoring machine, with 23 goals in 34 games played, just earning every penny of his new contract. And last but not least, John Tavares has also been revitalized this year under this new system, despite being in a contract season and also having the captaincy taken away during the offseason. He's still adding value to this lineup and has been really impactful with 32 points in 33 games played. So that's really the key here for the Maple Leafs, having sustained continued success with their core 4 players, especially with how much money they have tied up with these 4 guys. But something that's worth mentioning, something that has really brought out the best in all of their players, was bringing in Craig Berube, a guy who just gets more effort out of his players and fits a little bit better in this situation compared to Sheldon Keefe, with Keefe being more of a young guys coach, which was perfect for Toronto while he was with them, but at this point Berube just fits the system a little bit better. The other thing that's worth mentioning is some of the other changes that Toronto made in the offseason, so let's talk quickly about their defense and goaltending and the huge improvements that we've seen at those two areas. Offensively, the Leafs have always been solid, but their defensive unit has always had some lapses. This year, Toronto has shown some significant defensive improvements, which has truly led to this better record than what we're typically used to seeing. The additions of Chris Tanev and Oliver Ekman-Larsson have solidified the team's overall defensive blue line. Tanev's physicality and defensive awareness are invaluable, while Oliver Ekman-Larsson's puck-moving abilities and offensive contributions have added just another dimension to the overall flow of this team. Their presence has allowed the Leafs to control the pace of play more effectively and has limited scoring chances for opponents, taking some of the pressure off the team's offensive unit. Goaltending has also seen some significant improvements. However, it will be facing its own set of challenges this year. Anthony Stolarz, while playing some great hockey to start the year, just received an injury that will keep him out of the lineup for a few weeks. Something that is a tough blow to the team, but you can look at it in a more positive way. The Leafs have actually had some great depth at goaltending, with Joseph Woll being a reliable 1B, and guys like Matt Murray, whenever they get the call up, just contributing in whatever way they can. This just overall shows you that the new system that the Leafs are playing in has been more effective at bringing out the best in all of their players, something that we typically haven't seen in the past. Usually players would just pack it in when it was the regular season and only show up on a few nights, but this year the Leafs have been competitive in almost every game that they're playing. System, coaching, overall structure of the roster, it all just looks way better than it has in the past for Toronto. But really the thing that I'm paying attention to this year is not their regular season success. I think a lot of people need to stop focusing on the Leafs when it comes to that and pay more attention to their playoff run this year, because I feel like the implications of success this year are going to be far more impactful than it has in the past, especially with two of their best guys being up for a contract at the end of the year. So yes, we love the new signs of success with Berube as coach, the defensive improvements and goaltending being more consistent, but if none of this translates to the playoffs, then we're going to see a lot of big time moves for Toronto in the offseason. So let's talk a little bit about the John Tavares and Mitch Marner situation, as well as the Austonmatthews injury that I feel like isn't being talked about enough, and what I think the Leafs should do with him based on their regular season past and their postseason history. The team's early on success has been a positive sign, but a deep playoff run is going to be crucial for the future of these two key players. Mitch Marner, John Tavares, they're both having a hot start to the year, but if they can't sustain this regular season success through the playoffs, then there's a good chance that Toronto could lose two of their best players. Now, a strong playoff run could just be a catalyst for the organization to finally commit to these two players, giving them the money that they're asking for. But if the team ends up getting bounced in the first round again, it's very unlikely that we're going to see Marner and Tavares ever suit up in a Leafs uniform again. Now, I'm not sure what the number is going to be for these two players, but based on the contract signed by William Nylander and Austonmatthews, I expect that both of these players will be looking for a large number on their next deal. And more importantly, some other team out there in the league would be willing to sign both of them. But real quickly, speaking of Austonmatthews, I think something that has gone a little bit under the radar is his injury. Right now, it's undeniably a concern and something that I feel like we need to highlight for the Leafs. While the initial diagnosis seemed manageable, recent reports suggest a re-aggravation, just overall raising questions about his long-term availability and how he'll be able to impact the team's performance moving forward. Now, at this point in the season, with Matthews already missing a bit of time, I think it's going to be important for them to just address the injury now so that he's available in the playoffs. His presence will be vital, his scoring is going to be crucial for the team, and his leadership and influence in the locker room is going to be without question one of the more important parts of their playoff run. The team's ability to maintain winning momentum in the regular season just isn't important anymore. Sustaining a level of play that's long-term and sustainable in the playoffs is more important at this point, especially when you circle back to our previous conversation about Mitch Marner and John Tavares, and whether or not the team actually wants to keep them in town or not. This whole season is more just a testament to what the future of Toronto is going to look like, and especially the future of the core four. Yeah, but this is the honest truth about the Toronto Maple Leafs. A lot to like with this team to start the year, but in the end, does it all really matter if they don't translate any of this to the postseason? That's where you guys come in. Do you care about this hot start by the Leafs, or are you more focused on the playoffs and what this team does in the postseason? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss some of the topics that I brought up here: Matthews' injury, the Leafs' playoffs run, as well as Mitch Marner and John Tavares' future with the organization. As always, thank you guys for watching these videos. Make sure you like this one and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next episode.